what I'm going to be showing today is how to take that application and drive higher utilization of apps in Azure Spring Cloud with Autoscale. And I know that Autoscale might sound like a marketing ploy, but it really does what it is trying to say it does. It automatically scales. We're going to go through the specifics around Autoscale, how you can set up your configuration, and then how to survive Black Friday. Then we're going to go through some demos, and then I'm going to try and break it. I'm going to try and break a serious demo. I've got a nice instance running there, and we're going to see if we can actually send it a couple of thousand requests and see what we break. Hopefully we don't break anything, but let's see what happens. Okay, so in my session, I'm going to use the Pet Clinic demo, and I'm going to set up the Autoscale for its customer service. And you saw there, the customer service had a lot of additional integration points. I'm going to try to stress the service and get it to talk to all of the other services to see if we can actually put strain on it and then trigger an Autoscale that we're going to set up. So I've already set up the actual application and the services. And also I've set up the scaling that we're going to go through. But before we start, I'm going to start the stress testing on that service. And so we can go back and see how it auto-scaled up and then came down and auto-scaled down to the original number of its service. We're going to simulate load on the demo environment, end of the presentation. Let's go see the results. So out of the slideshow, and then I'm going to go into my Chrome browser, because I'm a Microsoft developer, uses Chrome on a Mac for Java. I know, ironic. And I've got my Pet Clinic application running here. You can see Pet Clinic application. And then I've also got the code spaces editor with the Pet Clinic service that I'm going to stress test. I just wanted to show you this quickly. We'll go through it a little bit more. And the owner resource with the find all is the one that we're going to stress. And we'll go through that a little bit more when we go through the demo. But the find all goes all the way into the bowels of the system to actually go in there and stress test and auto scale. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one little test here. I'm going to curl that service there with one service just to show you what it looks like. So I'm going to go curl, and I've called it Learn TV Pet Clinic. And then you see there, that's the full URL. And then I hit enter, and it's going to bring back the REST services of all the pets, the vets, the visits, all of that. That's great. That's not really stress testing. So I built a little script here, and I'm going to do it 2,000 times and endlessly without any kind of sleep between them. So let's do that, and let's see what breaks or if something doesn't break. I want to clear this. Then I want to run this. And remember, this is GitHub code spaces. It's on beta. You can sign up for it. Script.sh. And away we go. And it's going to hit it 2,000 times in a matter of seconds and minutes. And yeah, so let's leave that running, breaking stuff. And let's go back into my demo and let's talk about exactly what I'm expecting and what I expect to happen while that's running. Let me just make sure that that does eventually run. Ooh, okay, so we'll come back. And I want to go to presenter view again. Great. So what does Spring Cloud give you if you are looking at maintaining and operationally caring about your systems? So now that I've set up my demo, let's look at how Spring Cloud can assist with monitoring. With out-of-the-box support for Azure Monitor, Spring Cloud actually gives you an easy way to visualize how your Spring applications are behaving. And then once you do that, you can see how they're performing and also isolate potential problems. So this is the application that I ran earlier today. And you can see when I stress test my application, it gives me the ability to see all of the calls, not only all of the calls, but all the dependencies for all the calls, the interoperability between them. It also highlights errors and the outside extension calls to dependencies that it's using. Once I have that, I can set alert rules for important conditions and address issues before end users notice them. So I need to identify also reactive and proactive actions. So what I'm doing here is really reactive. I'm setting my alerts and setting the conditions. If something happens, then I have to step in and perform a certain action. So apart from reactive monitoring, I also need built-in features that help my microservices perform at their best when demand changes. And a really good example for this is Black Friday. My customers begin researching in October, but the season truly kicks off in November, with spikes in my service usage occurring throughout the entire last 4 months of the year. I expect to see a significant negative impact to in-store visits because of the COVID climate, but double-digit growth in online sales. I'm going to need a business and technical strategy. So the business strategy needs a way to ensure services to my customers while also minimizing the operational costs and optimizing the resource usage. Seasoned CIOs have a rule of thumb that you calculate as best as you can the maximum load, and from that the number of instances or servers, and add a fudge factor, say 20%. Then you hope you don't actually get called on a Friday night when the load unexpectedly spikes. In the cloud, this strategy is inverted. Rather than allocate it for the maximum load, ask what the minimum footprint is in terms of instances of the cloud. In the cloud, you can always scale up. The important thing from an economic point of view is to be attentive to scaling down, to releasing the instances and thus reducing your charge. So pay as you go. You shouldn't pay for what you don't need or use. Now that I've got my business strategy, let's look at some technical approaches that can really complement this business strategy. So there are 4 core scenarios I want to cater for. I need some apps to have idle capacity. In this approach, we scale the number of individual app instances. I want to scale differently on weekends. In this approach, we scale down to 1 instance on weekends. I want to scale differently during holidays. In this approach, during a holiday season, I want to override the defaults and have more capacity at my disposal. And finally, scale on custom metrics. In this approach, we scale on an app based on CPU or memory. It looks like I need to configure my application to automatic scale to cater for all of these requirements. This is where, let me define Autoscale. This is where you schedule additional instances when you expect a heavy load and release them when no longer needed. Introducing Azure Spring Cloud Autoscale. Autoscale on Azure Spring Cloud has been one of the most sought after features from customers. We're excited to share the preview of Autoscale in Azure Spring Cloud. It enables you to be more productive and cost-effective by automatically scaling up apps up or down based on the load or schedule. So once Autoscale is enabled, you can be rest assured that the service will take care of your underlying infrastructure and the load on your apps. So how does it actually work? In Autoscale, your apps will be scaled down to exactly how many instances are needed for the load, but never go beyond the limits you set. Remember, pay as you go. It it can be configured with a range of metrics, ensuring your scaling is linked to your service, app, or even VM's performance. You can also set a schedule. Remember the holidays, the weekends, based on instance counts and your calendar, ensuring your apps will be scaled down based on your predefined schedule and limits. The Autoscale service also provides metrics and logs to understand what scale actions have occurred and the evaluation of the conditions that led to these actions. You can find answers to questions such as, why did my service scale or not scale? Why did an Autoscale action fail? Why is an Autoscale action taking time to scale? Whenever your resource is scaled, an event is logged in an activity log. So you can see from the view here, this is the customer service that I scaled early on today. And the activity log shows me that scaling up, scaling down, and also all of the metrics that triggered it. You can view the scale history of your resource and get notifications sent to you via email. You can also integrate with DevOps. So you do this with providing a webhook. So when your scale initiates a webhook, on every evaluation and Autoscale action, you can trigger an operational DevOps process to make sure you cater for additional resource allocation with that process. So hopefully our demo is ready for us. We're going to go back to the Pet Clinic demo. And I need to get out of there. There we go. And let's go back into our code spaces here. And let's just go reload. We can also so this is code spaces and my script. Let's see if we actually hit some load, else we can just add it on a little bit now. And I've got I've got my little dashboard there and it worked fine. You can see there immediately, I can see I did scale down, but at one point I actually scaled up with that increase of the load. And right now I'm still in the scale process and I've got 9 servers. So that worked well. Let's go see exactly what happened and what happened to our scale. So I can actually go, if I wanted to go and do that in live, you can click on live metrics and you can see all the live metrics that you can verify your load is happening on real time. Remember, proactive and reactive. So right now, you can see here, I've got my request durations, my failure rate, but we want to actually see about the instance count. Good news, we're actually scaling as we do really live. So we might not scale down, but we're scaling up right now. So we scaled up because we hit a spike, and that looks exactly like a Black Friday spike. The system is configured to scale up. And let's go look at that configuration. So let's go to my home and my Azure Spring Cloud Learn TV Pet Clinic. And then I've got my apps here. Now I set up manual scale for the vet service and the clinic service because I don't put a lot of load on that with the owner's service. And how I can check that, if I go into my owner resource, I can actually click through. And let's go command click, find all, and then I can go through my repository bean here and my links to my DTO and see exactly what kind of Autoscale do I need to set up. So I set up Autoscale only on my, on my customer service. You can see there, it's not really finished the Autoscale. And I can go into my customer service, my scale out, which is in preview. And in here, you can see that I've got enabled Autoscale, and I've already set up my vet service and my visit service to have 2 instances because they're not really going to need to scale up as much as my owner service. And I've got my custom Autoscale on my customer service, and I'm scaling based on a metric. Let's go look at that metric there. You can see there I've got on average and it's got a metric there, increase count to 3. And when that metric is hit, decrease count to 1. So I click on that. Let's go see the scale rule that I selected. And the scale rule really says that Azure's standard cloud metrics, when Tomcat global request total count, so it basically means when I get a request to Tomcat that includes any RESTful service, and I set the threshold there to 10, which is going to be triggered off with those thousands of services that I set there, then scale up to 1. But I've also set that the metric can be aggregated in 1 minute, but you can set that, if you can see here, average or sum, you can set that based on your usage. And there's also a action increase count to, and I have a cooldown minute, and then the instance count that I want to set it to. So if I'm feeling that there's a blimp and that blimp's not really related to my actual usage of my system, then don't actually go up, but rather aggregate based on real world metrics and make sure that I really do need to increase those server numbers. Once I have that, then decrease it based on a very similar metric, less than or equal to 10, and make sure that I decrease the count to 1, because I want to lessen the expense that I have when there isn't any load. So let's go 1 hour. You can see there, we loaded up pretty nicely, and it's finished downscaling. So it scaled up to 3 instances, and then it downscaled to the 1 instance that I had to start with. And we can verify that in our, let's go here, in our distributed tracing. So if you go to distributed tracing, view application map, this always wows me when I see this, because I really wish I had this. In the 25 years of development experience that I had, I never had a nice toy like this. And now you can see there's 4 instances here, but this is the instances that I previously scaled. And I can see that my 2 instances and my vet services and my vet, and I can actually go look at how many servers. So you can see there's 4,000 4,000 calls from customer service to the API gateway. And that's also great, because that means that I hit it twice and I've got an average of 36 milliseconds. I can go into my 4 instances on my customer service and even get the performance. I can go investigate performance. And then I can look at the performance of not only the call that I'm looking for, the customer service, but I can also look at its dependencies and the operations it takes. You can see there, that's the spike, the Black Friday spike, and then it spiked down there. And throughout this entire period of scaling up and scaling down, we still didn't get any degradation of service. So it took it through the gateway and distributed those calls through to the new service that are scaling up. And when it came down, I didn't have any degradation of my services. And that's really the demo that I wanted to show you, how easy it was for me to scale up and scale down, put some load on my service, not have any errors. And I can actually double confirm that I don't have any errors. Going back to my dashboard, I have no HTTP service errors. The response time was, sorry, that's not actually a response time. My CPU usage here, also kind of stable. And there's my Spark. And then I can actually go back to my Spark and see, instead of me kind of retroactively Autoscale, maybe I needed 2 servers to start with, not just 1 server. And then I've also got my live stream statistics. So that's what I wanted to show you today. And if you want to know more, we've got some really good examples, some demos, and you can go through the tutorial that my colleague Julian DeBart created. We've got the Spring Cloud Docs, Tomcat, why your Spring apps to interact with Azure services. Feedback to us, and follow me on Twitter at Rory Preddy. Thank you so much for coming today. I really had fun, and I look forward to seeing you on the interweb.